Welcome back to the Exchange Place podcast, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
A sound effect.
This is season 3. Oh my God. I can't even believe it's season 3. The season of restoration. And I thought I'd start this season off a little bit differently. As the guests who are either watching and those of you who are not watching, Tamara and I are in 2 separate places. So we are mobile today, which is normally not the usual. But that's kind of why I wanted to start the podcast off this way. To begin with is I'm learning, and I continue to learn, that what you call your season, God often challenges you to actually do that. And last season, as we know, for those of us who've been with us and those of us who are just joining, we've had a healing season, and our last season was Evolve. And the funny thing about evolution is that you actually have to do it. It's not one of those things we all get so excited sometimes about evolving. It sounds so exciting to evolve, but there are growing pains along the way. Number one. And there was a lot of transition from evolution. And Tamara is no longer in Jersey with me anymore. She has relocated to the West Coast. Yay! I'm so excited, y'all. I miss her, but I still, it's different, but it's good. I can't explain it. It's all working for our good. And I really wanted to call this, I won't even call it a podcast because I don't think it's a full episode. I think it's just an introduction. But I wanted to call it The Pieces Are Coming Together. I feel like...
I love that. I have to say that, so this is confirmation that you're using that phrase because when I moved here to San Diego, the church that I found, the pastor, I remember him prophesying over my life. And those were the words that he used, that it may not make sense to you right now, but because you're here, the pieces are coming together.
Oh my God.
And then he also said that it's my time. It's my time. And before I left New Jersey, I just kept saying those 3 words that, I have poured out so much. I've dedicated my life of service to so many and to so many things and so many people. And it's my time. So
yeah, I love that. So I'm in tears for those of us who, for a number of reasons. One of the things about the pieces coming together, and in this season I'm in, and this is a very vulnerable, I think, conversation, and all of our conversations are vulnerable, but I think even me kind of being in my bedroom, in my own space, kind of not how...
too,
I know. And us not kind of like being, all dolled up. I just, nothing on my face, just... this is like real life. And the one thing that God has really been dealing with me with, and also in the podcast and just in life, has been my control. I have always liked to control things. And I've been asking God why, like, what has that been? And he's like, it's not just that you wanted control, it's that you wanted connection. And this season of us coming together, I think it's going to be a lot of pieces that feel like they're out of place. There are a lot of pieces that we may not, like you said, we may not understand. I'm in a true season of like literally walking by faith. And that's ironic because I am Deborah Faith, but really walking by God's direction and not really knowing where I'm fully going, and not being able to explain everything to everyone, whether it's for the podcast or even in my own life. I'm just like, but I know I'm on track. It's like, I can't really fully explain it because I'm literally being led. So it's a different space for me because I'm normally, I feel safer normally when I feel like I'm in control, which I'm never in control anyway. We already know that.
I think
But this
control is an illusion, right? It's
it
like
is,
we like to think we are in control, but
and
we're
we're
not.
not. We're
No,
not. We're
no,
not.
no.
But babes, I'm so excited that you are in San Diego. It's been so like I thought initially I was like, oh my God, Tamara's like really moving. And I was just like, I didn't know what that was gonna look like, but never once did I feel like you weren't supposed to be there or
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
it's been the wild this has been the wildest time, like I said, where I feel like the pieces are truly, truly coming together. This season for the listeners will be one that I really ask you guys to come along with us for the journey because I don't know what this restoration season is going to look like. I have some plans and works in what I want to put into the season and have wanted to put in the season for a long time. We have a new location that we will,
yay!
right? That we will be
I got a
recording.
sneak peek virtually, so I'm pretty excited about it. It looks
Yeah.
amazing. It looks amazing, Deb. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
And the funny thing about it, though, I don't want people to get used to that space either. It's like I've been hearing, like, this will just be a very mobile season. It will
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
wherever, we pop up, but that will kind of be our home of like when we have kind of full podcasts. I also have some therapists coming through. So we're going to do a therapy Thursday, and you know
Great,
how dear
great,
that is to my heart.
great.
I am
I
also
bel-
now a certified coach.
what? Congratulations, felicidades. I'm here for all of that. Lately, and you know how close I am to my cousins. And lately we've been talking a lot about mental wellness and ensuring that we are holding each other accountable for our mental headspace, our emotional spaces, and our physical spaces, that we're keeping up with our pap smears and our colonoscopies and our breast exams and all that good stuff. But that wellness piece, that mental wellness piece is so real. I think that a lot of us grapple with things in secret because we're too afraid to share publicly or widely with others. A lot of that is wrapped up in embarrassment and shame, and some of that is just wrapped up in ego, right? And so, trying to kind of break some of that stuff down in our cousins group and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in that safe space, right, with each other, I think is important. So the fact that you're exposing us to therapists and people who can help us to kind of unpack some of this historical stuff that's happened in our lives, the trauma that we've been affected by, all of that stuff. I mean, these are things that we need to talk about. And so
Yeah.
thank you for caring about us enough to bring folks on.
Aw. Sis, I love that. And you're sharing that for the first time. That's so in line with this restoration season. I felt a little stuck in doing this season, if I'm
Hmm.
honest, initially.
Hmm.
I was just like, I always knew kind of initially what the healed season would look like and what evolved
Right.
season looked like. And I was like, restoration will be one of those seasons that I would get to when I got to it.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
got to it, I was honest. I was like, okay, Lord, like, I'm always bringing before God, like, what do you want me to say to those who listen to us? Like, this is my
Mm.
baby. You know what I mean? It literally is my baby. And the one thing that God showed me, it was like, I was like, okay, so are we getting back the stuff that we lost? Like, what does that mean? And, historically, restoration, I think we always look at it like us getting stuff back from us. But what you said
Right.
is so prevalent because what God gave me is that it won't just be what we lost. It will be generations of
Yes.
what has been broken. And we're going to
Yes.
be that generation that fixes it. So from
Yes.
family to, like this season and every season, we really should have a pace and a diet to every season
I
that we're
love it.
in.
I love it.
And I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm 15 pounds down. Y'all can't see me, but y'all gonna see me on a podcast and going. But God has just been changing my diet, and not in just what I'm eating
I
physically,
love
but
it.
spiritually, what I'm taking in, and just changing the narrative in our families. And I really believe that throughout even our talks and our asking for friends, or whatever segment that we're doing, whether it's the therapy Thursdays or just general um, episodes that we're having, we will really be dealing with generational things that have been passed down and how to heal them, and how to go back and have, normalizing apologizing to your children, or having hard
I love it.
conversations with parents.
I love
So
it. Yeah.
I love what you guys are doing.
The generational piece, and gosh, like everything is just kind of coming full circle and connecting here for me, sis, because the other day in church we were talking about the importance of planting a seed in order to break generational cycles, right? And I feel like this exchange place, I feel like this space, I feel like you're doing that. I feel like you're planting something in us, or offering something in us that will help to stop the cycles. This is not mine. This is Pastor Julian's, but I love the analogy that he used. He said that, well, what happens, when a male and a female, they get together, a man and a woman, and he stops the cycle, right? Once there is some type of intimacy there, right? He has to plant a seed there that will stop the cycle. And I just it just came together for me, because once that happens, then you can really birth something, right? Something can really be born out of this once that generational cycle is stopped. And so I feel like this season, this restoration season, if it does what it's supposed to do, it's going to plant a seed in so many of us. When people hear, when they listen, when they see, that's going to plant something in us that's going to help us to really heal. It's going to help us to be restored. It's going to break the cycles of, constant busyness for no reason, and constant, relationships that have been tainted, because we were afraid to go back and say, I'm sorry. It's going to do something for people who have books in them and education in them and jobs in them and entrepreneurship and all this stuff that they haven't even birthed yet. I mean, that's what I see. So I am praying and hoping that those who experience the exchange this season will see the seed that's being planted in them, and then those cycles will be stopped, and that something will be birthed in them that will live on like a legacy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a legacy. What God has been showing me is that it's a bridge for generations to go over. It's the crossover. Like, this season is the crossover to where we should really be. And even myself, like, I've had, we always say, oh, we're healing. And I always get to a point where this show has been blessing me in general, is that I get to a point where I'm like, I'm good. And God's like, okay, look at this right here. look at that. And that for me, wholeheartedly,
there's always going to be something, right? I mean, we don't stop growing. We don't stop evolving. Like, there's more. There's more. Yeah.
There's always more. And for me, this season, we're going to talk a lot about love. Love has been, I really haven't.
Shout out to Aunt. Brother Ant,
Love Lane Co.
Shout out to Love Lane. I saw your sweatshirt. I love that you're repping him. But love is what I'm all about. That's my ministry.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're tapping into that.
So. I think it's time. I if I'm honest, I don't think I was ready to touch love. I think in the past 2 seasons we've touched love. And I've been present, but I don't think I've been present. I don't know if that makes sense, but
you've been present, but you haven't been in love. I mean, let's get down to the to what it is.
I also, what I realized, and I know this is for somebody of why I'm even sharing this. I realized that discouragement in anything, but definitely in love areas. Normally there's 3 things that end up happening when you get discouraged in those love areas, right? You start to make inner vows to yourself that you never speak to anyone else. It's so easy for us to say, oh, I'm never going to be there again.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to feel like this again. Oh, no, they won't trick. Oh, no. So there for me, there were three things that were major things that I've been having to go back and really look at. All of my inner vows, and I had to go back and reject those things that I've spoken over myself, and spoke to myself. So it's like, yeah, you want love, yeah, you're available, kinda, but you said all these things. The power of life and death lies in our tongues. So
right.
us saying certain things, I was putting that in my own life. Like I was breathing that in my own life.
Sure.
And we've all, I know for the listeners that are listening, whether heartache or heartbreaks have all caused us at times to say certain things. And I really want us to go and think about those things that we've said and call those things back and speak things against those. And I had to really go back to that and do that. Also regret. We go back, and I know for me, typically we're harder on ourselves than anybody else, right?
Sure,
so you feel like, hey, I'm smarter than that. How did I miss that? How did that person get through? And you replay that so much. But I think one of the major things for me that was something that God was showing was like, you have paranoia now when people come around, because it's like, who sent you? And why you here? And what you want?
Yes.
It was a very, it was funny because I think it was holding me up, but it almost looked like that discouragement also was disguised. That discouragement was almost disguised as wisdom and discernment was the hard part of like, but what I realized, and I'm still going through this, y'all, so don't, you know what I mean? But I do want to share what I've learned thus far is just like, discernment and wisdom does not include pain. And I think it's somewhere in James, and I'll have to find where it is, but it talks about the wisdom and how light it is and how it has all these good things, and pain is not a part of it. And when you feel like you have discernment in an area or wisdom in an area, but there's still pain there, right? And sometimes we're not honest. It's like, no, I'm over that. Yeah, you almost over it, but there's still some hidden things. And I really had to go through a process, and still going through a process of really being like, okay, I want love, but like, what does that look like for me? You know what I mean? Do I have space enough for that? Can I accept if the person that God sends, am I going to be side-eyeing him and being like, now who sent you? now who exactly sent you? What you doing here? Now, and when I'm not, what you doing?
What you doing here?
Now what I'm not saying is, for the listeners who are listening, and even for me, that you walk into relationship, whether it's, because I didn't only see that in the love area. That's the, intimate love in that space. I think I also,
right? Or even familial relationships. Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking like, and when you've been hurt, I've been hurt by friends. I've been hurt by people I thought I, really knew. And I think that's just how, life can work sometimes, but it's almost like you miss out on who God is sending. And like the reality of, when God blesses us, he normally sends someone in our lives on 2 feet. I mean, it's not always a financial blessing. Some of our greatest blessings, as we can see, that the one that sits in front of me, some of our greatest blessings are going to walk into our lives on 2 legs. And what happens when you can't accept the blessing? So God's trying to send you help and you can't even receive the help. And those are tough conversations to really have with yourself. And I've had some tough one-on-one conversations with myself. Amber laughed at me the other day because I called her. I said, "Oh, I had a talk with me," and she was like, "What?" I was like, "I just had a."
I said, "I had that lately."
I had a really hard talk with myself, and I'll even share why. So I'm back in the dating world. I've met some incredible people. I haven't met the one, so to speak, or I don't believe in soulmates, but that's a whole nother talk.
Okay.
I do believe that, God, we get to choose at the end of the day. right? There are a number of people that we can choose and build stuff with, and we get to choose. I don't think that there's one person on the earth that's only for me, and if something, God forbid, something happened to them, I'm going to be single forever. That's why that whole soulmate thing for me is a little hard. But in the process of dating or even just meeting new people, there's a particular person who's like a powerful person, like I don't deal with slumps anyway, but you know what I'm saying, like a powerful person that I know and can see like your future is going to be bright. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to be at a place in a space. And I had to ask myself, I was like, ooh, now I know what I see in him. And I was like, if I was to be with him, could I handle the anointing on his life?
Wow.
And I was just like, ooh, you're going to have to do some work, child. You're going to have to do some work. Ooh. And I know it's not a him thing, right?
Sure. No.
And in my past, I probably would have thought it was more of a him thing. Like, yeah, he probably just, you know what I mean? I'd have had that side paranoia. Mm-hmm. But I know it's a me thing. I know it's an experience thing. And I'm almost trying to put that experience and ball it in a ball and say, okay, that experience, not everything that we experience always we get wisdom out of.
Right.
So sometimes there's still a lot of pain in that. Some things definitely we get wisdom, but when there's pain kind of coupled in there, sometimes I'm coupling that and just saying, oh, okay, yeah, I'm discerning. No, girl, you hurt and discouraged in that area. That's what it is. And it's hard to have those talks or self-talks with yourself. But in order to get over the bridge and even build what the exchange place is supposed to be, because I know the exchange place, especially in this season, it's always been bigger than me, but it's time for it to evolve to a different place. And I know that will take help, but can I receive the help that I'm asking for?
I love it. As it evolves and takes shape, and you had mentioned that, this is also a mobile thing, right? The exchange place is where you are. So talk a little bit about that. This place that you're setting up now, although it's a beautiful space, there seems to be no permanency in a physical space. And I think that that's also a model and a representation of the exchange place, right? As we talk about evolving, where you are is not a permanent space, right? If you're growing and you're developing and you're evolving, then you're always someplace else, right? And so I think that the physical space is a representation of that it is mobile and that it is really any and everywhere you are, right? Exchanges are happening, discussions are happening, healing is happening, restoration is happening, right? And so, I don't know, I feel like you should talk about that a little bit more so the listeners can know kind of where you see the exchange place evolving both. Well, I mean, you've already talked about it kind of metaphorically, but what about physically?
So physically, I guess I can share now. I will be relocating in hopefully June of this year. So we are definitely moving to Georgia, kind of. So physically, my home or my home base, still on the East Coast. I'm staying on the East Coast, y'all, but I will spend some time on the West Coast.
With me.
But I will, yes. I will be with my sister. So I will be relocating to Georgia, that's a huge move for me. It's a huge move, of course, physically, but it's also just it's been more of a mental move. Mm-hmm. Again, back to kind of what I was saying is, I don't have, how it's like, I just know I'm supposed to be there. Like everybody's like, what is it about Georgia? I was like, God told me to go there. This is really a God move. And though I will be, again, back and forth to Jersey, to San Diego recording, God knows where else recording, I know that I will have a home in Georgia.
I love that.
And it's funny because I was down there in September of last year and also November. And it's so hard to explain. It's just like, have you, well, I know you've experienced this because
Sure.
you've
I
moved to
knew
your
San
place.
Diego was the place that I was called to be.
Yeah, it's just
Hmm.
it's a calling, and I'm
Hmm.
literally following the calling.
Calling. Hmm.
I I think it's so important, as the listeners are listening, to listen to the call. Um,
Sis, you just took the words right out of my mouth. Destiny, your destiny calls you, right? But you have to be in a space where you can hear that call. For me, it's God. I know his voice, I hear his voice, and I know when he's calling me someplace, right? So I know where I'm supposed to be. I heard it clear as day when I was supposed to marry Khalil and be part of his family, and he was supposed to be part of my family, like the merging of those families. I knew clear as day when I got married. I knew clear as day when I got my dog.
hey, Stanley.
So sometimes blessings come on four legs instead of two. Let's just, for all the dog lovers.
Okay.
And then I knew clear as day when I was leaving New Jersey, when God called me to San Diego. And I know what I'm on assignment here, and I know what I'm supposed to do. And so when you're in a place, when you're fully, maybe I don't want to say fully restored, because I don't know that I'm fully restored, but I was restored enough to be able to hear it. How about
Hmm.
that? Right? Because I
Yeah.
don't know that we'll ever get to the place. I feel like even restoration is a journey. Um, you
I
know what I
think,
mean?
you know what's funny? I think about the seasons that God gave me, and I often say, we will repeat these seasons.
Hmm.
We'll
Hmm.
have the Kaizen model of continuous growth in the
Hmm.
healing, evolve, and restoration areas, because I think it's going to be progress and a
Hmm.
process in all those areas throughout
Yeah.
our lives if we continue to grow. I don't think we arrive. I don't think there's
Right. Right.
like you said it earlier. You said that basically it doesn't matter basically where you get to, you're consistently going, so it's a mobile kind of thing, and it's what the exchange is. It literally is
Right.
kind of the mobile movement that we will go through, the process that you kind of heal, and then you evolve, and then there's restoration in the area, and then you go back and you find something else that you're just
I love
like,
it. I
oh,
love
I
it.
need to heal again, and I need to evolve, and I need restoration in this area. So I think, though the seasons will be titled the same thing,
Yeah. Sure.
they'll always be in different spaces and places of your life. And I just pray as we continue our journey and people get to see us kind of unashamed and like, this is me on, on a regular
I love
evening.
it.
You
I
get
love
us
it.
dressed up.
I
You've
love
seen us
it.
cry. You've seen us laugh. You've seen us not know. And it's okay. It's like, that is what the the exchange place represents for
Mhm.
everyone. It is mirrors of where you are, and there's windows of where you are going or you may be going, and we just want to help you along the way. We want to help you with what we've learned along the way. We want to help guide you and give you tools and tips and things that we learn to maybe look at, that maybe you don't have to stumble as much as we did. You know what I mean? Maybe you can take something that we say, and use it and put it in your life, and it blesses you, and it helps you have a conversation that you may have not had. It helps you move when God says move.
Right.
Yeah, and not doubt, because I know it's hard. Even me moving, right? I've lived in Jersey my whole life. I'm born and raised in
Same.
Jersey.
Same.
I've always wanted to go, and you know that, sis. I've always put things and even people, my children, everybody before
Mhm.
what I knew in my heart of all hearts, what I wanted to
Mm.
do. And I stayed here way longer than I wanted to. I really, really did. And no longer. I was just like I know this move is like, if you don't move, there's danger in that.
Say so. Say
It's
so.
it's danger in me not being obedient to what I've heard and what I know. And even though I don't have the full picture of what that looks like, everybody's like, well, do you have like a new job? Or I'm like, no, my job is transferable. We can do that.
Right.
You know, is it, I'm like, I just know I'm supposed to be there, and that's it. And that for me is enough. Don't get me wrong. There are places and spaces that I'd be like, Lord, okay.
Right.
But when I tell you that I know that I know that I know, like probably not, and I didn't even share this with you, probably like a week ago, I got this email for a nomination for a podcast. The podcast I got nominated for, I think it's called Speak Up Sis, and they're doing the podcast of the year. And where is it? It's in Atlanta. Like, it's just, everything is like Georgia, Atlanta. It's just, it's calling me. And
he'll connect the dots for you.
And again, the pieces, when I tell you the pieces are coming together, it's almost like, I know for most of the listeners, everybody's had a puzzle, like a map or something, some type of puzzle that you put together. And it's literally like, you know how when you first get and you're like, okay, I got a corner of it. That is how I feel like my life is right now. I feel like the pieces are just coming together, and I'm just like, okay, if you say go here, I'm going here. If you say do not go here, I'm not going there. And I'm okay with that. I have put me down for once.
I love it. I love it.
I love it. So I just, I wanted to do these small segments because I feel like the evolution that has happened has not only impacted my life. I've watched your evolution.
Definitely has impacted my life.
Yeah, I'm watching Amber's, and we'll talk to her as well, her evolution. I'm watching Brenda's evolution, who's also had major moves in this last season.
Discussions have done for me, and this podcast has done for me, sis. It's helped with my fear of being able to prioritize myself. In a world that, expects that, you give. I don't think I knew how to do that. I don't think I knew how to put myself down on the list, right? As someone who also needs to continue to evolve and grow, and it's okay to, make yourself a priority in that. Even if you have children, even if you have a husband, right? Even if you have a job, right? Even if you have ministry, right? You're no good to anybody else until you're good to yourself. And I think that the discussions, I know that the discussions that we've had both on and off camera, even more intimately off camera, that have really contributed to my confidence and my ability to pick myself up and go. And that journey of go, when you hear your destiny calling, is not always an easy one, right? You talked about growing pains, and you talked about, folks feel like they're left behind, and they're, when you're growing, and, people feel like you're just dropping them, even though you've been there with them every step of the way for, 30 something years, it's like, when do I get to say, okay, I'm going to do this for Tamara, and it's Tamara's time. And I love that the exchange place gave me, or reminded me of, that confidence. It also gave me a language or a lexicon that I could use to kind of identify what was wrong, right? Like, what is it that, why am I unable to articulate what it is that I need to do to put myself first? I don't even know how to say it, right? And so being able to engage in those discussions, listen to those discussions. I mean, you talked about the thematic areas, healing, restoration, all this stuff, and being able to go back to the podcast and recycle them. The fact that you have them listed there, and you can go back to those podcasts at any time, or the fact that you're recycling them every so often and we see them, it just kind of, resurrects reminders, right? In your audience. It's like, don't look back. Keep going. You're on the right track. This is for you. Don't forget to love people, but you can love yourself too. Like, all of these things coming together. And I love it. I love it. I love the space that I'm in now as a result of that. So thank you for adding to my life, both on and off camera, on and off video, on and off audio. I love it here.
Oh,
I love it.
Don't make me cry. I love that. I love that. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I'm crying because, and I talked to you about this earlier. I've been really thinking about Reverend Ron. For some reason, going
He's
into
been
this
coming up a lot
restoration
for me too.
season,
Yeah.
he's been so heavy on my heart. Like God has almost been replaying things that he said to me. He's been replaying just so much. And for the audience, I don't know that I've ever fully talked about Reverend Ron, but he was our pastor who passed away back in 2015, who was a spiritual father to me and both of us, and just he's even part of why I do what I do in this season of life. There is something that you just said that reminded me of something he said to us, and I don't even know that you will remember, but he said there will be a season of life where you're going to have to go first, and that there will be people that you will have to leave behind, but where you're going will be the foundation, and you'll be able to come back and get some of those people. But it is your responsibility to go first. And I've been thinking about that a lot because as I'm moving, and not that I have some family in Georgia, but as I'm moving, it's not just a physical move. It is a leap of faith. It is literally walking by faith. It is me picking up my life here and building something else there, as
Right.
well as still, still being able to come back here and love on the
Right.
people that are here. My mom's here, my brother's here. I have friends and some other family here, but yeah, I love this space. This space is so special to me. It is my church. It is my altar. It is a gift that God has literally given me that I pray so often that I steward well. Um, it's not just a podcast. It's not just us coming on and getting on for a chit chat or whatever. This is really like kingdom business for me. I really know that I'm called to heal this world. I know that there's a calling for the brokenhearted. I know that there are people who are overlooked and suffering in silence, the people that feel left out and just unseen, the people that are the strong people who have the shoulders in their family that carry everything, but are literally dying inside and falling apart themselves. Hey, Sadler. But I love this place. I know that God will, in this restoration season, that He will uproot some things that go back for generations. I really believe that there's going to be, and I want to hear about those testimonies. I really want people to come back and talk about that. And I want to talk about what's going on, even in my own personal life and my family structure. But I believe that there were things that got lost, not just by us, but by generations. I mean, that you're going to get back things that your great, great, great grandmother wasn't here to see. But you are going to be the person that brings all of that to the forefront and restores that for your family and your last name. So again, it's so much bigger than us. And I'm looking forward to it. I just, even me getting certified as a coach, it is intentional. It is me following the calling because I know there will be so many things that come out of this. And I want to be the center of where people can come and get coaching, therapy, a word, some laughs, some tools, all of that good stuff, but get it in such an authentic way.
Yeah.
That they don't feel alone. And if this is the only place, because they're not in a place to go see a therapist, if they're not in a place to get a coach, if they're not, if they're struggling silently, that we can be the voices that they hear when they lay down at night or get up in the morning, when their lunch break, where they just like, I have no idea where to go. I just pray that everything that we record this season will be something that literally literally gives seed to them, that, you know, we give seed, but God is the one who gives increase, and that someone else may be the one that waters it, but that we would plant seed in people, that it's possible. Because if people who had any idea of where I used to be, that's all I think about every time I get before a camera doing this. It's like, you have no idea of how I should not be before you. None. And let me tell you, I am living in this peace that is just, some days I wake up and I don't even, it's like, how did I even get here? You know what I mean? That, like, God is so good. Like, I don't even know how I got here. I'm just grateful that I'm here. And it's my responsibility to help other people over. So even if I have to carry y'all on my back over the bridge, we going over. This is not that season. This is the season that we help one another get over. So this is literally the crossover to restoration. So I'm
with you. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. We bringing them over, sis. It's like, you know how it's like the rescue mission where you pull people.
I'm ready.
Have you ever seen?
I'm ready. Boots are strapped. My back is strong. Yes.
And I've been working out, y'all. Maybe that's why God got me doing my 4 miles a day, because I've been working out. So I'm ready. If I have to carry people over in this season, it's like there's so much more, and that other side of the bridge is like, you haven't even begun to see what is in you. And you doing the bad part.
That's the thing. It's ahead of you, right? It's that it's crossing over into that next phase or that next piece of your life. There's a concept called Afrofuturism, and it talks about how, we need our history. We need to know, we're asking for reparations. We want all that stuff, but we don't want to be stuck there, right? We're looking for a better future for us, right? And so, I mean, and that's I'm obviously that's speaking to Black people in particular and those in the diaspora, but we're talking about the human condition, right? When and I think it was Maya Angelou that said that. She said, I speak to the Black experience, but I'm talking about the human condition. And it's like the exchange wants to see people look ahead into their future. We can't get stuck back there, right? That's not who we are anymore. That's not the life that we're living anymore. And the more we can detach from that, and the more we can heal from that, the easier it will be to cross over. I find that when we hang on to the past in that way, it holds us back. It distracts us. It holds us back. It doesn't help us to evolve into the people that we need to be. I was at a Black History Month closing yesterday at my school, and one of the students, the scholarship recipients, he said, "Man, I just scrapped my notes because all I want to say is, thank you so much. This is going to help me be the man that I know I can be and the man that they don't want me to be." And dropped the mic and said thank you and walked off the stage. So this right here is for the person that you want to be and the person that everybody said that you couldn't be. For the places they said you couldn't go, but you're on your way to, or you're here. Right?
Jesus.
Like all of that. This is for you. This season is for you. Walk into it. Come on and cross over. Hop on our backs. We're ready.
Yes, we are ready. Now, since you got me in tears, Lord have mercy.
He had me in tears yesterday. He had me in tears. He said, "This is for the man I want to be and for the man that they don't want me to be." I was like, oh my goodness.
Jesus. Sis, what would you give the listeners, because you've taken a major leap of faith And I
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm.
again, born and raised in Jersey, lucrative career.
Born in Brooklyn. I was
Um,
1 year. I think I was 1 year old when I moved over.
Look,
I
she
gotta
gonna
remember
get her
that.
BK. Look, she gonna get her BK right for that 1 year.
I'm so upset that I can't say I was born and raised in New Jersey. But yes, but I mean, you can essentially say born and raised in New Jersey, but born in Brooklyn, raised in really raised. New Jersey raised me, raised me.
Yeah. But
Shout out.
I know you had so many connections here, career
My
wise.
whole life.
Your whole life was here. How do you how how did you pick up and leave? Like what do you feel like what do you feel like was the hardest thing to do with leaving? Like I know you knew you had made up your mind, like, okay, the call is there in
Right.
San Diego. I love it there. But what was it? Anything in particular, like, or you just knew that you had to go?
I knew I was called here. I know my destiny is here. I know that the next assignment that God had for me is here. It's here in San Diego, and I've been here now for 4 months, and it every day I wake up, God reveals Himself to me and my assignment to me every single morning, and so it's confirmation that I really do belong here. Was it an easy journey? Up to the point when I got on the plane, yes, because God said yes every single point leading up to the physical travel and actual travel here. So yes to the job, and yes to, like, everything worked out. Yes to where I was going to live, and like everything worked together for my good because I said
Mm-hmm.
yes. But of course, with change comes uncomfortability. You have to figure out what's going to happen with family. I'm married. What's going to happen with Khalil, his job, the children? I mean, all of my students at my old institution, that I care about their lives and where they're going. My entire family unit, friend network, sister network, everything is in New Jersey. um, but you just got to do it, and you got to do it uncertain, and you got to do it scared, and you just got to do it. And are there lonely nights? Of course. Right? Are there nights when I'm thinking, wow, like, this was a huge decision, and am I sure? Of course. Right? And then I remember what God promised me, right? That He would never leave me. Right? Everything is going to work together for my good. What He has in store for me is more than I could ask, think, or imagine, right? Um, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
I love that.
I wake up with the confirmation that this was the right decision.
Amen. I'm so proud of you. I think also that we really have to have courage when walking in our
Mm-hmm.
callings and walking in our purpose, because other people are not going to understand and they're not meant to.
Yeah. I mean, I love this saying. I see it on Facebook and Instagram a lot, that, it says, you don't have to understand my calling. It wasn't a conference call, right? It was between me and God. It wasn't between me, you, God, and everybody else, right? Y'all weren't invited to that boardroom. It was between me and Him. And I know His voice, and I hear His voice, and I know what I was called to do. And you may not understand it, but I understand how it impacts you, even.
Now that part.
Okay, I know how it impacts you. So, and then I mean, obviously there are folks who aren't able to see it immediately, but 4 months later, they're like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see why you went all the way over there.
Yeah. But that's life in general. Even I think creating, building, or doing anything in your purpose doesn't look like what you've seen when you're
No,
doing it. People
right.
only notice it once you've built it, or
Right.
once you got there and people can
Right.
actually see it. It's almost like what I used to say before, until I see what I saw. Because what I
Yeah.
see is not what other people are privy to even when
Right.
they think about the podcast, like they have no idea of what my vision of
Yeah.
where this is going. Like, because they, like you said, wasn't a conference call. They didn't get to see what I saw
Right.
at all.
And you know what's the other piece? I know that sometimes when people arrive, or when they transition and they arrive at their location, they might feel the need to showcase kind of where they are now, right? And that showcase for me really has been a place of peace, really showing people that, where I am, it's not about, it's not shiny. It's not, like I'm not living it up in any mansion, right? Like I'm not, right. But there's a peace here that you can't put a dollar amount on, right? There is an assignment that I've been called to that can't be done by anybody else because it's my assignment. Even if Barack Obama came to California and wanted to do my job, he couldn't. Why? Because my name is on it, not his. My name is on it. And
That's so good.
Isn't it? I just, that to me, showcasing and letting people know that, what I've come here for is purpose and peace, right? More than for the glitz and the glam and all of that. That's not what this is about. Yeah.
That's so layered. Because you said like, well, where you are is not a mansion, but I think that's the misconception of success. That's the misconception of purpose. Like it doesn't always look like glitz and glam, because there are people who have a lot of financial wealth, but they're miserable.
Right. True.
So I think true.
I mean, not that I don't want those things, or
not that we don't want our checks.
I'll be satisfied. Let me be clear about what I'm saying here. Lord, if you give it to me, I'll give it back to you. But just give it to me.
There's so many people. I can't with you, sis, because I feel you so much on that. But I think there's so many people who live in these big mansions and have these custom beds that don't sleep at night. So there's something just so, I feel like, fulfilling about being in a place of not even contentment, but just like I have absolute peace and joy. And it's not controlled by, and Lord, we want our check, but it's not controlled by the actual money. Like money will come, but peace you can't buy. You can't buy peace. You can't buy joy. You can't you can't get that from anywhere else. The other thing that you said, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
The other thing that you said is, and this is something I've been dealing with, and like getting the idea of take anything God gives me that I will submit it back to.
Yes, that part. And I feel like that's, I feel like everything that I've poured out, because I have been obedient to God up to this point, for the most part. I'm not perfect, but I believe that what I've poured out, I think those have been seeds that have been planted where I am now able to kind of reap the benefits, right? And God is now saying yes to me because I've said yes to his call, his will, his way. And it's not perfect, and I'm not perfect, and I don't always get it right, but I am available to him.
Mm.
And so I am available to him, and I'm learning more now to give him his due.
His due. Mm-hmm. I want to share this with, I don't know who this is for, but it's definitely for somebody. So yesterday I was down in PA celebrating Amber's birthday.
Happy birthday, Amber.
And
Happy
happy
birthday, so
birthday, Am. She's somewhere, I'm sure, celebrating. And then we'll be in California soon as well. AM. And we, went to Snow Tube. We're staying in this hotel. It's time for us to leave and check out. And we're waiting to check out. And while we're waiting, of course, I wanted to get some food. So like a normal, the hotel desk is there. And I was still picking out food. He's like, "Oh, do you want me to ring you up?" I was like, "No, it's okay." So another lady comes in who's actually checking in. So I figure out what I want, and I'm standing at the counter, and I'm realizing how much I've grown because I hate to wait. And God has this peculiar way of keeping me waiting in the waiting room for longer than most people. So I've learned not only how to wait, not how to wait on God, but I think how to wait in God. Mm-hmm. That I realize that sometimes when I'm waiting, that the wait is not about me. Right?
Wow.
So I'm standing at the counter, and for whatever reason, and I'm laughing at myself because I know me before. So I know how anxious I would have been. I know what would have been kind of going on in me, even though I may have even appeared calm, because whatever, I don't know what issues they were having, but it took a long time. I'm just, I'm listening to my music or whatever. So he looks over, he's like, he's trying to help me, but he's, stuck with her. I said, "No, take your time. It's fine. I'm not going anywhere. I got patience." And so I'm like playing on my phone. So it's time for him to wrap up with her and come to ring me up. And this is nothing but God. So he comes to walk at me, and the lady calls him back. And he says to me, he said, "No, she got it." I was like, "What?" He said, "No, she has it covered. She covered it for you." And all I could think is, in this season, like literally, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that you will reap from fields that your hands never touched.
Plant. Yes.
And God was like, if you just wait in me in this season, be obedient, that other people are going to foot the bill.
It'll be covered.
They're going to cover it. And that was a small, like, I didn't have anything, extravagant. It just spoke to me to the extent of, like, God has it covered in this season. You don't have to, the same struggles, the same things that we had to do in other seasons, I won't have to do.
I love it.
You just have to wait in him. And I was just like, Amber's like, "What happened?" I said, "Never, it's just like one of those."
I love it.
And it was so funny because it's like the person who covered it looked nothing like me. When I say nothing like me.
Wow.
Just, you know what I mean? It's just like, and she was just like, "I got it." And I was just like, okay. I was like, okay, God, you got it. Because this whole move and everything, you take charge. You just show me where I need to go, where I need to wait, where I need to pause. Yeah. So that will be this season. When we need to pause, we are going to pause. Where we need to move and where we need to be and where we need to go. We will be there. We will be there.
Amen.
So I really just want to leave the listeners with this to be flexible in this season of life. I know you have a plan, and I know my listeners, because I know me, and I know the people that listen to me, my voice have to, they relate and connect for a reason. So I know that you've had plans or ways that you've done things.
We got control issues.
And control issues of how things get done. But I want this season to be one which you're okay with saying you don't know. One of which you're okay with just being led. And I know we have, we worried about if we don't do it, who's going to do it, if we don't do what we normally do, but you won't have to do that in this season.
That part.
God will send people. And it wasn't that I didn't have the money to pay for it. You won't even have to use the stuff that you had to use before. Somebody else is going to cover that. And I just want us to be really flexible, be able to adjust in this season of restoration, so we can receive and get back the things that we're due. Because it is really, when they say it's due season, like this is the big payback season. Everything that you've sown and stuff you haven't even touched, the things that you don't even know that your great grandfather was working on and it never came to pass, that's on your life. So, sis, is there anything before I let you go back to your humble abode that you would love to leave the listeners with?
No, I'm excited about this season. I'm ready to cross over. I'm ready to be restored. I know that this is an ongoing journey, and I'm happy to continue it with you. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your vision for the Exchange Place, sis. I believe in it. I receive it. And like the opening says, I'm going to take good care of it.
Amen. I love you, and I love all the listeners that listen in. You guys are really family to me. So hang on to your seats and come along with us on the ride. We will see y'all next week. I love you, babes.
Love you too, babes.
Bye.